This is Building a Creative Life. I'm Pam Vale, a New England artist, bringing the world of creativity to your door through casual conversations with artists, creators, and everyday people, helping curious, midlife women begin their next creative chapter. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Today on Building a Creative Life, I'm joined by someone whose journey is nothing short of extraordinary. Susie Pearl went from running PR for MTV and working with icons like Madonna and the Spice Girls to surviving brain cancer and experiencing what she calls a visit to the other side. Susie has lived a life filled with transformation. She's now an author, creativity coach, and meditation advocate, helping people unlock their potential and design lives they truly love. We talked about the healing power of creativity, the role of meditation in finding clarity, and how positivity and mindset can shift everything. And be sure to stay tuned till the end because I'll be sharing some thoughts that will help you apply Susie's insights directly into your own creative journey. Welcome to the show, Susie. I'm so glad that you're here.
Oh, thank you, Pam. It's lovely to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm really grateful that we were connected, and I have been really excited to talk to you because I think that we share a very similar view on creativity and how important it is and how accessible it is. And so I'm excited for the people to listen to your views and your experience. And I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about you so we can learn a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. So I'm from the UK originally, and I set up a PR agency in London. It's a celebrity PR agency and looked after a lot of very well-known music artists such as Madonna and the Spice Girls and Michael Jackson. So I had this incredible octane-fueled career working with MTV. I was involved in the MTV Music Awards for many, many years, and just really looking after a lot of great artists and geniuses of our time. And I love the music industry and working with these kind of geniuses. And Michael Jackson, I think we'd all agree that he is a musical icon of our times and on genius levels. And working with these people, I began to realize there was a pattern of the people I was working with who were exceptional in their field. I noticed these patterns and the fact that often they were highly creative people. They didn't operate particularly well in the normal world, down sort of on the ground. Um, but nevertheless, there was this quirky quality, and I thought, I want to find out what that is and really investigate it. And I was really enthralled by this concept of creativity, where ideas come from, what makes us creative. And we would hear a lot about creativity. Oh, yeah, she's really creative, or he's very creative. And I came to the realization that we are all really creative. Sometimes school might knock it out of us. Sometimes life means that we have a lifestyle that means that we think we don't have time, we don't have space, we don't have energy, support, and or give ourselves labels that we're not creative. But all the research and investigation and day-to-day experience tells me that we all have creativity within. It's a case of unlocking it.
Absolutely. Did you have creative role models as a young person? Did you have people where you saw that
I
creativity could be a profession?
Well, I always loved books when I was a little girl, and I went on to become an author. So I left my music industry world and I started working with a hypnotist called Paul McKenna, who was an author and wrote loads of great books, sold millions of books. And I one day came back to the office, he came back after lunch and he said, "Oh, I've got to finish this chapter for a deadline." And I said, "Oh, let me help. I can write that." And I found that I could write. And I wrote this thing and it became in print in a book. So I joined the dots and realized I can write, I could be an author. And Paul, a very good friend, I was MD and managing director of his company for years. He went off to live in LA And so I was kind of hanging around thinking, okay, now's my time to get creative. Now's my time to get writing my own books. And I'd met his literary agent and I'd been in lots of publisher meetings with him. So I kind of understood how that process worked.
Mhm.
And I just started writing. I went on a course actually with a guy, Tom Evans. He created this How to Channel Your Book course, which I went on. Because I'd done a lot of meditation, Pam, I'd got used to going in and out of trance states, closing my eyes, allowing my brain just to relax and expand into a sort of broader level and dipping into different kind of states. And so in this course, I learned how to channel my first book and I did the techniques. Bam, it works. I went home after the weekend workshop and I couldn't stop writing. The book just wrote me, just found myself, shh, write, write, write. And I wrote the whole thing. I had it all down. I sent it to Paul's literary agent with their blessing, his blessing. And Robert Kirby at United Agent said, yeah, this is great. I'll take it out. He took it out and I got a book deal immediately.
That's amazing.
Um, and the rest is history. And I've written loads of books since then. I've just finished a new book. So that was my experience of learning to write. Now, I'm not pretending it's easy just to sit down and write a book. I'm now a book coach and I work with a lot of people opening up their possibility tank, if you will, about being able to write a book because it can be overwhelming. And it's when you chunk these things down and make it much smaller. I never think about I'm writing a whole book. No, I will map out the scope and then I will chunk it down and I'll chunk it into smaller sections. It's maybe parts. And in those parts, I have chapters and I'll name those chapters and I'll do a structure. So before I write one word, I already know the structure of my book. So I'm only ever writing that much. So I think when
It's
I
a
come,
great lesson for people
yeah,
creatively
yeah,
to break it down
yeah.
into small pieces makes it manageable.
Yeah, and not overwhelming because
Hmm.
the big thing is procrastination. People feel, oh, yeah, I want to do that project, but I won't do it today. I'm too busy. And then today goes to tomorrow, and then people just never get around to it.
Hmm.
So it is about breaking that um, loop of procrastination. And sometimes you can just say, I need to write one sentence today. Literally, just do that. And once you write the one sentence, there's probably a second one's going to pop out, and then probably a third one's going to pop out. But that's not the point. You're just there to write one little bit and
Right.
then come back
Because of
the next
those
day.
expectations, right? I think that if you're looking at a complete project, whether it's a book or a piece of art or home decor, whatever it is, it's like it's looming, right? And there's like self-imposed expectations of an outcome. But I think, your view of how you break it down, it kind of removes that pressure.
It makes it easier, doesn't it? Because if I said to you, Pam, could you write two sentences for me in the next half an hour? You'd probably say, sure.
Mhm.
If I said to you, could you just start a book in the next half an hour? You'd be go, oh no, I've got all these things to do. So it's just literally a frame that we're putting on to make things an easier entry point. It's like anything you learn that's new. You start as a beginner and have a beginner's mind. If you're learning roller skating, you're not going to go in there and start doing all the twizzles. You're going to start just learning how to stand upright. And I think
Absolutely.
it's like with creativity, if you start to begin to be a painter, start on a simple level. Just have one little thing you're doing and enjoy it. That's the other thing is bringing with it to the piece of art that you're creating or the dancing that you're doing or the cooking that you're doing, whatever the artistic thing might be, is bring joy and happiness and bliss. And that takes you into flow. And you get happy and you feel good and the time just disappears, that happens to me a lot. I mean, I'm good with time, but when I get stuck in, if I'm editing or writing something, hours can just fly by because I don't care about the time. I'm focused on what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And that is flow. And flow is fantastic
It's the
state to get
best.
into. Oh my goodness. It really is.
Absolutely. And going back to talking about these artists that you worked with that were at the pinnacle of, professionally of their creative expression. And there was a point where they were beginners, or I actually grew up in the entertainment industry. My dad was a performer, and so the people that I grew up with around me were the legends of that time, of his time. And what I learned is that it doesn't matter what level of success, career achievement they have. They're people, right? They have a lack of confidence sometimes. They have self doubt. They have they question their talents, and there's all these uh, things that they have that everyone has, right? And I think it's easy to look at someone like Michael Jackson or the other people that you mentioned and think that like maybe things did come a little with a little less effort, but there are still like they still have to be a beginner at something, and they still have to find their voice, and they have to build their confidence. So I think it's easy to forget that we all have to do that.
Mm. And we're all humans with all the human stuff that goes on. And for example, with one of the big girl bands, one of the most famous bands in the world at the time, one of those, for example, in the band was suffering a lot from stage fright and from lack of confidence, and would have almost a panic attack every night before going on stage. And it was someone's job in the team to just sit with her, calm her down, make sure she didn't start drinking or something like this, and just relax her so that she could get on stage. And she was an important part because she was part of a collective, so needed to be there. And yeah, we all, no matter who we are, there are the human trials and tribulations behind it. There's the heartbreaks and the relationship breaks ups and the insecurities and all of these things. Everyone has this patterning of emotionality behind whatever it is they're doing. The interesting thing is that the emotionality really that drives great art and that drives great creativity. So sometimes we wonder, why do some of these great artists, why are they pained and Picasso, people, these people you hear that very pained in their lives, and that really drove the creativity somehow through this tortured lifestyle. So often that goes together as well. But I'm not saying in order to be creative you have to have pain, anxiety, and upset. No, but it has been the case that many great creative people in history has have not had an easy ride, let's say.
Absolutely. And I find that creativity also is such an important role in healing. So if you do have that, even just hobbies or any kind of creative expression, whether it's addiction or mental health, or, obviously you have a, a life altering medical event that happened for you. And I find that creative expression, I really enjoyed watching your TEDx talk and hearing your story about what happened with you. And I will put all your contact information in the show notes so people can follow you and see what we're talking about. But just the creativity path that you took that helped you get past something was very
Mm.
inspiring.
Well, I think creativity offers everyone a doorway into something that we're not even aware of. We don't even know where it's going to take us. I have a few beliefs now about creativity. One is that we all have creativity within ourselves. We all have a spark and a curious part of ourselves about creativity in some form. Now, that seems to take very different looks depending on who it is. Some people grow up as a little girl loving dancing. Dancing is the thing, and it remains so for all of their lives. Others are not interested at all and later pick up a paintbrush. I have a client who's one of the best coloured pencil artists in the world. She's Bonnie Snowdon. She's incredible. And she now teaches thousands and tens of thousands of people the art of coloured pencils. Now, she got given a coloured, she'd never picked up a coloured pencil before. She got given a set for Christmas by someone about 5 or 6 years before she was at the top of her game. She just started. She found them and started doing it and loved it, and now it's her thing. And she can do pictures that look like photographs. They're extraordinary. She does animals and all sorts of fur is just amazing. But that was never on the cards. It seemed this quirky event of someone actually just buying her a set of pencils, clicked and flicked her into this destiny path. So it's very interesting. For me, I always loved books. When I was a little girl, I had a little bookcase, had all my little penguin books. I used to color code them and have my favorite fairy tales, and I'd always love reading. And it turns out now I still love it. I still buy a lot of books, and I have a big book collection. Books have been a big part of my life, and now I'm writing them. And I find when I'm writing, it really helps to read because they're very connected for me anyway. I read and it helps me write. I write and it helps me read. I suddenly become interested in other people's writing and saying, oh, that's interesting the way they approach that, or that was an interesting device. So they really go together. And for other people, music can be the doorway that takes people into feeling creative. I've got friends who can only really get creative when they've got some of their favorite music on. And it takes them into the brainwave that allows them to get into this gorgeous stream of creativity. And creativity is incredibly healing, as you mentioned. It's extraordinary, the positive effects of getting creative. It takes people out of depression, it raises and lifts spirits, raises the frequency that people are, their cells are at. It really is incredible, and it helps the brain, left hand, right hand hemispheres of the brain to become more coherent. When we are more mindful about our creativity, we can help connect the heart and the head, using creativity as a vehicle for that, which in itself really increases our frequency and helps us to experience better things in life. So the science is showing us that creativity is a great way to make yourself feel happier.
Absolutely. And I think it definitely increases that positive energy, and it makes connections with other people. You know, you talked about how some people find their creativity when they're listening to somebody else's creative expression, whether it's music or something else. So I find that there's like this thread of energy that goes through creative expression for people. Because I
Yeah,
know you meditate and you um,
yeah,
believe in energy and connection. And I'd love if you
yeah,
could share a little about that.
yeah. Well, I've been a TM meditator for, I don't know, 20 years, so 25 years probably. A friend of mine uh, who had one of her legs amputated. So she was a amputee, disabled. She was an artist actually, and she was always very upbeat. She used to come to my house. We'd have tea and we'd chat. And I'd be having a tough time, and she would be like, "Oh, don't worry, it's all good." And I thought, how can you have this huge physical disability and remain so buoyant? You're an inspiration. I said, how do you keep yourself mentally really strong when you have these physical challenges? And she said, meditation. And she left me the card. She said, call this person, learn how to meditate. And I did. And bam, Pam, that changed my world. I was going through a big breakup at the time. I was feeling very upset, really difficult. I had a big PR agency to run, didn't even want to go in and every day. I was so upset. I started meditating, and then boof, suddenly. And it's a wonderful way to get ideas. I always have a notepad with me when I'm meditating because I remember things I'd forgotten, and new ideas come in, connections come in, my intuition kicks in, and I get a stream of ideas constantly. And it's for me, meditation has been one of the most wonderful, powerful gateways to opening up for meditation. And one day I was in, I was I began to forget things and lose my memory a little bit, and my neighbour said, "Yeah, it's not right," and got me checked out. And it turned out I had this huge brain tumor. This is 2018, and I was told I had 3 weeks to live, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh," and I was like, "Yeah, it's okay." And they're going, "She's crazy. She's really crazy. She's lost it, but that's her. She doesn't really understand how bad it is." And I was like, "No, I do understand, but it's not. I knew it wasn't my time to go." So I was in hospital having lots of checks and treatment for this humongous tumor, and everyone was asking me to get a lawyer and get my will done and all this serious stuff. And then I began to meditate, and I shut my eyes and I felt this sort of suction of my spirit, and I felt myself come out of my body and looking down on this little frail body in the hospital bed. And during this experience of meditating, I had a near-death experience, which meant that I left my body and I went on a trip of heaven, went up and saw what it's like when we die. And I was asked, do I want to come back? You have a one-time chance. Do you want to come back? And I said, yeah, I do. I've got a son. I do want to come back. And white flash back in my body. And my tumor had gone. I had a new MRI brain scan. And the doctor said, we don't understand, but your brain is completely healed. And they said they didn't understand. I did. It was this near-death experience that gave me instant healing of something so drastic as brain cancer. And yeah, I was reading that he said there's no scar tissue. So everyone was shocked. Everyone said, wow, it's like a miracle. And was not shocked, because I knew that this was going to be the outcome. I received information from above that I was going to be okay, and I believed it. And I told others, but they all thought I was just crazy. So this happened, and I came back with this new information that I'd witnessed and I got given on the other side of life, if you will. And I've just written a book now called Dying is Not the End, because dying is not the end. Our spirit goes on forever, was my experience. And our body may cease to exist, but our spirit is eternal. That's what I discovered. So I've just been writing about the 7 things I learned from this incredible experience. And I'm really grateful to have had that experience. And coming back, I'm much more creative than I've ever been before. I have ideas just streaming in, just really powerfully. And I'd written this book called The Art of Creativity, that I had collaborated on the meditation section with David Lynch, the film director, who had been very kindly supporting my work and loved what I was doing and loved my passion about TM meditation as he had. So we worked on that together, and this book sort of gave me a validation route that she's not crazy. She's actually quite together, and will allow me now to talk about this incredible event that's happened. And it's maybe beyond people's belief systems of what is possible, but I'm just reporting what happened to me. And luckily, I've had this sort of stellar career where people can't say, "Oh, she's nuts," or "she's doesn't get," because I've kind of earned my stars in terms of being a credible human. So that's just out now to get a publishing deal. So I'm hoping and praying that I know it will. I know it will be a book and a film, because I was told when I was up there that that was what this was all about. Because we need to talk more. We need to talk more about who we are as humans, what we need as humans, which is collaboration, connection, as we're connecting now, and you have this collective group who are interested and like-minded and interested in similar things of creativity and the art of living creatively, if you like. We connect through these kind of niches, and this is very important for human beings. And I think more now than ever before, we need to kind of ask ourselves questions of, what is this all about? And how do I make my life as good as I possibly can? Because clearly this is magical, what's going on. If we walk outside, look at the trees, look at the nature, look at the flowers, all the sacred geometry going on, and the autumn, and then the dropping of the leaves. How does this all work? We can't possibly understand. And I think we're not meant to. I think it's too fabulous for us to possibly understand it. But within all of this, let's make a good job of ourselves being good human beings with kindness and compassion and care, and being as creative and as useful in the world as we can possibly be. I think that's probably a good way to go.
Absolutely. And it shows you, especially with your particular story, it shows you how powerful our minds are, right? And how we have a choice. We have a choice, which direction we want to go and which thoughts we want to let in and what we want to believe. And I think that, you know, your path of sharing your experience shows us things that makes it so that we don't have to wait for that. Like we don't have to wait until we have, you know, a serious diagnosis and have to battle through something. We have the choice right now to
Yeah, do it right
change
now.
what we
Do it right
think.
now. Mm. Yeah, make some decisions. Just think, go into some quiet. It's like a meditation practice, this one. Close your eyes, be quiet, and listen. Listen to the little voice inside. And write. Writing is great. Journaling, it's called, isn't it? You're writing in a book, you're not editing yourself, you're just letting whatever wants to come out, let it come out. And part of it is really acknowledging what we want to create and be creative about that. Be creative about your desires and your wishes and your wants. And our most important job, as I understand it now, is to be good guardians and stewards of our emotions and our thoughts and our words. What comes out of here is powerful. We have to think very carefully about every word. Abracadabra. You know, I'm casting spells as I speak. We all are. So let's make them good. Keep your language really positive. In hospital, I was already up to speed with some of these things, and I realized I did not want any negativity around my hospital bed, like you're going to die in 10 days. I did, as I said to the doctors, if you have any bad news to deliver, I don't want to hear it. I don't want it discussed every 10 minutes around my bedside in front of me and like I can't hear. I don't want that. There were a lot of eye rolling, and my family were like, "Oh my God, she's losing it." But no, I was actually right. You know, I wanted positive talk, and I also wanted to vision my future. So I was in bed in hospital in Cambridge University Hospital, ordering my beach wear, my big hats to wear on the beach, some fun beach shoes, because I was imagining myself back in on the beach in Ibiza, my favorite place. And I was imagining a future because I wanted a future because I had a son and I wanted to be here to look after him. So that was my tactic. Keep it all very, very what I wanted, imagine my future, bring it into now, feel good, talk only a positive thing. Imagine how negative I could have been if I had brain cancer, I was in hospital, I was eating horrible food, I was up on all these monitors and things, and I was being told I was about to die and I had a young son. I mean, that's a recipe for she's probably going to lose it. But I maintained my calm and my center. And I'm actually, as I'm telling you this, I'm feeling quite proud because a lot of people go, "Oh, well, but you haven't had the life I've had." And I've had that a lot through my life. I've always been talking about the importance of positivity. And as a showbiz person in Hollywood, running around in all these beautiful places, people are, "Oh, yeah, but you don't know what it's like at the sharp end. I've got 4 kids and not enough money and an awful husband or whatever." And like, dudes, I have had a lot of experience. And now, having been through brain cancer, no one can say anything. And you can.
You're like
No,
validated now.
you can say, "Oh, you don't know, I've had a tough life." No, guys, I've had 3 weeks to live and brain cancer, and here I am talking a positive game. You can do it too.
Right.
And I think the art of living, as well as the art, my book is called The Art of Creativity. I love that phrase, the art of creativity. The art of living is about being able to do the things we know that work, which is mindset, emotions, words. Intentions are incredibly powerful. If you set an intention, the whole universe will start coming in to make this happen. You'll meet the right people. And everyone we meet in life, the fact that you've shown up to this podcast, no coincidence. You needed to hear some stuff that will be talked about today. You can believe that if you like, because
Absolutely.
it's probably true. You bump into people randomly, supposedly, but everyone brings an element of something that you need. And another important thing I learned, one of the other things is when the bad things happen, and they sure do in life, the challenges come up, the difficulties come up, the triggering comes up, is all there to teach us. And the more we're triggered, is the more it's a lesson we need to learn. So it's useful to look at it and go, what is this showing me? What have I got to learn here so I can stop this happening? And so on. So yeah,
And it's a choice.
interesting.
It's definitely a choice, and it's never too late. I feel, I think we share the thought that people are born creative, right? It's not, it's your right. It's something, it's, part of who you are, and how you talked about earlier, at some point, maybe in school, maybe a trusted adult, someone is, there's some point where people get shut down. A lot of people that don't practice creativity all the time. There's usually some pinpointed moment I have found from people that it was shut off, whether it was a judgment or an embarrassment or something they felt wasn't good enough. But, it's your story, and the people that you work with show that it's never too late, and that you're not alone, right? And there are tools, you can work with someone like you. There are ways to come out of that and find this joy, the joy of flow. You talked about flow earlier.
Oh,
I
it's
want everybody to
intoxicating.
experience that.
Yeah. Well, at school, I had terrible grades in English. I never passed an English exam. I failed miserably, and uh, I was told by an English teacher that I couldn't write. I mean, I wasn't a good writer. This red ink crossing out. I can see it now on my exercise books, on my essays. Red ink everywhere, and a really bad mark at the bottom. And same with Paul McKenna, who's UK's best-selling non-fiction author, who I worked with, sold millions of books. He's this hypnotist. He flunked at school. He was no good, and he was chucked out of his English group as well. I was always chucked out of my English groups, and now a published author of many books. So don't believe what you can do anything. That's the title of one of my chapters in my new book, is that anything is possible, and it really is. It's mindset, it's belief, and so we just need to expand our awareness, and meditation really helps with that.
Other than meditation, do you have other creative rituals that you do?
Hmm. Yeah, I have a setup. I love my working space. I mean, you can see here now I've got a beautiful, I'm in a finca, an old Spanish farmhouse. And I have my computer, and I have a beautiful setup. Smells nice, looks nice. And I give gratitude and thanks before I start. So I get into a good mindset. I go for a walk in nature, which is always a great way to elevate your frequency. So I make sure that, and I go swimming every day in the sea, and move my body every day. I eat really well. I only eat organic, fresh, bright colored foods. I don't have anything processed. Um, and people go, oh, that's a bit extravagant. Not really, because I'm alive. And I think it's to not do that is expensive, because you end up being ill. And so I know that food is medicine. So I think it's very important to eat well. And as a creative, I careful about who I hang out with, where I go. I curate my environments. If I go somewhere I'm not feeling it, or there's negativity or people gossiping, I will leave immediately. Just sneak out. I mean, I live in Ibiza some of the time, and there's a lot of parties and things going on, and I'm not a big party person, although I am very sociable. I love talking to people, but I don't want to do it in a kind of drug fueled environment, for example, or whatever. So I am very careful about where I hang out. And when I'm involved in my creative process, I have routines. So, I do certain things in the morning, and I eat at certain times, and I exercise at certain times. And there's a patterning to it, and there's a pattern for when I do my creative work. So my brain is ready. I might light a candle or put a piece of music on, and then my brain knows, okay, we're good to go, and this is the time. Switching things off, not scrolling and being on the phone is so boring and so hypnotic and so addictive for so many people. And I think that's one of the problems of our times. If you can code the phone as boring and a wasteful resource of time, it's good for some stuff, obviously, it's practical sources of making a payment or whatever. If we can hook off the technology thing, addiction thing of scrolling, that's a massive boost to headspace for creativity as
It
well.
opens up space for your own thoughts, I find.
Very much so. So I think creativity is a lifestyle choice because you have to create space for it, for yourself to be creative, for the people around you to allow that in, to set up agreements if you have kids and things to sort of, this is my writing time, or doing a deal where someone can have the kids while you are doing your stuff or whatever. But the most important thing is to get it done, build it into your life, even though it's difficult. Sometimes the more difficult it is, the more gorgeous it is when you pull it off. If it's been tricky, I've been a single mom, running businesses, writing books, da da da, and it's not always easy to do that. And I'm tired, and I would rather not be doing things sometimes. But you find a way, and when you zoom out, and we've got to keep zooming out in life and making sure that we're living it day by day in the way that enhances and in the way that we're happy with. Because when, for example, I was given 3 weeks to live, if you just have a few weeks left or a few days left to live, it focuses the mind into thinking, what am I going to do today? And is it valuable enough? Is it important enough? Because we never know when our last day is going to be. It could be any time. And we are duty bound to live every day that we can possibly that we live to make it as beautiful, as enhanced as we possibly can. And that's our job. And we can't finger point and blame at anyone else. If it's not what we want, we have to change it. And I know people are stuck in jobs they don't like, relationships they don't like, homes they don't like, da da da, whatever. Make some new goals and choices and work towards something that you do want, because it's important that we live a good life and learn really well from the mistakes that we inevitably make,
Absolutely.
and
And
use
design our
creativity.
lives.
Design our lives, exactly. Designing is very, very important. I used to run a course in London, Live Your Dreams, Design Your Life, and that is the mental process. This is about mental creativity. And I think it's interesting, people who show up to creativity sessions or communities, are primed to be able to design, think about how things look when they're formed in different ways. They are primed to be able to put design on top of one's life. And that's one of the secrets of existence, is to be able to design your life. Think about what it is you want more of. Think about what you want less of,
Right.
and create it.
And sometimes that's the more insightful part is what you don't want. Or maybe easier
Yeah,
part to see. Things
it's
you don't want
useful.
in
It's
your life.
really useful. I mean, I'm a big proponent of thinking about what you do want. Don't spend too much time on what you don't want. However, it's good sometimes if you do a list of things you don't want it, and then you do on the right hand side and you do on the left hand side a lift at the opposite,
Yeah,
it allows you to sharpen up what you really do want.
absolutely.
Yeah, very useful.
Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to share?
I think I would love people to, if you like my stuff, follow me on Instagram. I'm Susie Pearl X, and sign up to my newsletter, because there you will hear all about my new books, events, stuff I'm doing, and I'm all about creating wonderful communities, and I'm launching a new community platform as well, where we're going to talk about these things of living, designing a great life, these kind of principles, and the importance of mindset and creativity in life. So sign up, and then you'll get to hear about all of that. And I'd love to, yeah, I'd love to inspire you further if that's something that's of interest. And I've got a new, this new book I mentioned is going to my literary agent, so it'll probably be 1 or 2 years before it hits the bookshelves. Although I might make it available digitally before that, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, just follow me and find out.
I'm
And
excited to
Pam,
see
thank
about
you
that.
Thank you for having me on. It's been so nice to talk with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And like I said, I'll put all of your contact information in the show notes so people can find you and follow you and get inspired by you. And I appreciate you taking the time today. I'm glad you were put in my path, and I look forward to staying connected.
Lovely. Thank you. All right. Much love to everyone.
As I sit with everything Susie and I explored today, what really stands out to me is how accessible creativity truly is. We often think of it as painting or writing or performing, something reserved for artists. But as Susie reminded us, creativity is actually woven into how we live and how we problem solve and even how we show up in the ordinary moments of our day. One of my favorite takeaways was that creativity is inherent in everyone. It's not something you have to earn or prove. It's already there, waiting to be noticed and expressed and nurtured. And when you begin to see yourself that way, it opens up space for growth, for healing, and for joy. We also touched on the power of breaking things down into smaller steps, whether it's a creative project, a life transition, or even a new daily ritual. Progress doesn't come from one giant leap. It comes from showing up one small choice at a time. Susie's journey reminded me that positivity and mindset are not about ignoring the hard things, but they're about how you decide to walk through them. She's proof that even in the face of unimaginable challenges, creativity can be a compass back to life. So here's what I want to leave you with. Notice where creativity already shows up in your day. Give yourself permission to play, experiment, and explore without judgment. And most of all, remember that designing your life is a creative act in itself. There's no wrong way to do this. You are already creative. And every small step you take toward living with intention, curiosity, and openness is part of your creative life. Thank you for joining me for this conversation with Susie Pearl. I'll link her work and resources in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you. What resonated most, and how are you bringing creativity into your own life? Until next time, keep noticing the small things, keep nurturing your creativity, and keep building a life that feels truly your own. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for free and share it with a friend. It helps others find the show and grows our community. Remember, creativity is yours to define, there are no rules, and it's never too late. Until next time.